Good evening, fancy pants theater goers. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Joey Pipes.
And this is Hungover Hollywood.
On tonight's edition of Hungover Hollywood, we will be discussing last night's presentation of the 52nd Annual Grammy Awards, held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California.
But much like the Golden Globe Awards a few weeks ago, and most of my family members' weddings, we once again were informed by various people's lawyers that we were not invited to attend. So after smoking several joints in my van across the street from the Staples Center, we decided to wrap Joey's chest with nothing but a single piece of duct tape, disguise his face under a large feathery hat, and attempt to walk down the red carpet disguised as the artist, Pink, and her bodyguard.
Unfortunately, however, the steel wool-like patch of hair on my lower back tipped off security, and we were quickly ejected with an inappropriately disproportionate display of force.
You know, Pipes, were it not for your little backdoor landing strip, I think we would have made it. Because besides your oddly situated patches of wispy body hair, you and Pink have essentially the same body. Have you been hitting the bench press more lately to achieve that ironed-down pectoral appearance?
In fact, I have, Patrick. I have also been doing a lot of thigh work by utilizing the good girl machine and the bad girl machine. And since you brought it up, I've been meaning to tell you how lonely it's been at the gym since the management banned you for life.
I can only imagine. Who would have thought that our running together on the same elliptical machine would have been an ejectable offense? They should probably hang up a sign or something to that effect in the cardio room.
Well, I actually talked to Mark, the manager, a few weeks after that, and as it turns out, it wasn't our sharing the elliptical machine that resulted in your expulsion. It was more the fact that you were the one who lost your footing and fell into the machine next to us, which caused the rest of the cardio machines to tumble like dominoes, along with all the people using them.
That explains why you had been permitted to retain your gym privileges, and had not had your membership revoked, as I did, for your part in the escapade. I just figured that Mark was letting you stay because you and he have developed a personal relationship as a result of your daily carpool to the tanning salon. And to be honest, I thought that was a real sellout move on your part. My confusion comes as no surprise though, considering that our running on the shared elliptical machine was the last thing I remembered.
Right. Mark also said that the horrific stench of Jack Daniels on your passed-out body led him to suspect that you had been drinking prior to going to the gym that day, and that the results from the emergency room toxicology test subsequently confirmed his suspicions.
Well, he is wrong there, because I had not been drinking before I got to the gym that day. In actuality, I had simply chugged a flask during my pre-workout session in the steam room.
He also said that he hadn't seen so much heavy machinery topple over in domino-like fashion since Pee Wee Herman knocked over all those motorcycles outside that biker bar and almost got his ass kicked in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Right. I never really understood that part of Pee Wee's Big Adventure. If some little bitch like Pee Wee Herman came along and clumsily knocked over my parked hog while I was just trying to get smashed with my boys at a roadside swill house, I sure as hell wouldn't hold back just because he put on some big novelty shoes and danced around on the bar. In fact, that would probably make me want to kick the crap out of him even more than I already did. In any event, I guess my loss of gym privileges doesn't really make much difference. I never really worked out much when I was there anyway. I really just kind of watched myself as I walked by the mirror from a bunch of different angles and texted people on my BlackBerry from a seated position on the bench press.
Yeah, but it is a big loss to me because every once in a while you gave me a spot as I mercilessly and meticulously sculpted my biceps, shoulders, and chest. Plus, without you there as a buffer, all those weird guys who loiter for hours and seem to only be friends because they met each other at the gym keep making moves on me and trying to engage me in conversation.
Oh yeah. I hate those guys. They are always staring at you while you are doing a set, and you can tell by their stares and the shit-eating grin on their face that they are going to say something as soon as you finish the set, in order to strike up a conversation that they hope will ultimately lead to future obligatory pleasantries and eventually make you a part of their gaggle of gym losers. And I'm like, dude, I just want to come here to get shredded. I don't want to have to be bothered with obligatory conversation about the Red Sox game the night before, or what your thoughts were on Bill Belichick's latest coaching moves. I already have friends to talk about that type of shit with. Like, can't you just make friends somewhere else instead of sandbagging me into being your friend while I'm trying to get my crunch on?
I know. Those guys are the absolute worst. And I have found that whenever I am in the locker room, those are always the same assholes who walk out of the shower with their towels in their hands instead of around their waists. And they take an unnecessarily long amount of time before they put on their underwear. It's like, can't you clean your ears with your towel and check your BlackBerry after you've put on your underwear? I mean, for Christ's sake, there is one guy there who always insists on putting on his socks before he puts on his underwear. And he does it in such a way that he kicks his leg up onto the bench in the middle of the locker room and spends about 20 seconds picking at his toes and cleaning in between them, while everyone has to sit there looking at his fruit basket. I have never seen anything like it.
That is just ridiculous. That is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So anyways, having never gained entry into the Grammy Awards last night, we were forced to go back to Pipe's studio apartment, where we had planned on watching the television broadcast of the ceremony, but instead happened upon the end of my favorite love story of all time, Deliverance, and so we ended up watching that instead. After Deliverance, we were fortunate enough to stumble upon the first episode of an all-night Family Matters marathon on Nick at Night.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, when I am completely baked, that Urkel kid gets me every time.
I noticed that actually. And I also noticed that you kept weeping into your shirt whenever Carl Winslow and his cool son Eddie made up after one of their father-son arguments.
Well, what can I say? Carl Winslow may have had a short fuse, but he was a good father, and I think he was definitely a very positive male role model for Eddie and Rachel's bastard son, Richie.
Well, I can't argue with that. And Lord knows Richie needed it, since his own dirtbag father left him and Rachel for what could only have been a life of constant disappointment and crack cocaine addiction, amidst the urban squalor of Chicago's South Side. Nevertheless, the fact remains that we did not get into the Grammys. But we probably wouldn't have fit in anyway, as we learned later that it was a very pretentious affair. That is why we were fortunate that our inside man, Pretentious Tom, did gain entry into the Staples Center last night and was front and center to all of the pretentiousness that went down. So stay tuned, because after the break, we will be talking to Pretentious Tom via satellite so that he can break down just exactly what went down at last night's Grammy Award show celebration. Hey, Tony. Since we were just talking about it, play us into the commercial with the Family Matters outro.
So the doggy daycare lady called me again, and Henry Warnemont is still causing problems at daycare.
Whatever, man. I still don't understand why you named your dog after Punky Brewster's foster father. I mean, if you wanted to name your dog after a character in that show, why wouldn't you just name it Brandon, after Punky Brewster's dog?
Well, then everyone would think he was named after Jason Priestley's character on 90210.
Why the fuck would anyone ever think that? No, wait. Fuck it. Don't answer that. Because I'm removing myself from this conversation. Hey Tony. Do we have Pretentious Tom all set up and ready to go? How long till we are back? Alright, good. I'm going to go slam a Hot Pocket and cruise Facebook for a few.